guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, and let's get into today's video. So this case will make you angry because it made me angry when I read about it, and this is the case of Tiana Notice. Tiana Notice was born on February 4th, 1984, and she was just 25 years old when she was murdered. She had graduated from the University of Hartford with a degree in political science. Her mom said that Tiana loved to argue, so she always encouraged her to be a lawyer so that she could debate with people. According to her family, the most important things in her life were God, family, and friends. At the time of her death, she was dealing with an abusive ex-boyfriend, and that relationship would take a very deadly turn. James Carter Jr. was Tiana's ex-boyfriend at the time of her murder. Tiana and James met in 2007. They met on MySpace. Tiana wasn't looking for a serious relationship because she had just ended a 5-year relationship with her college sweetheart, but she agreed to meet James for a date and they met out in public. James told Tiana that he owned his own home, was a manager at a finance company, and didn't have kids, but wanted them at some point. These would all end up being false. James also gave Tiana a phone and he bought her tires for her car. At that time, Tiana thought that he was just being nice. They would eventually start dating, and about a year later, their relationship would start to crumble. In January 2009, James went to the Plainville police to file a restraining order against Tiana. The police filed the report despite James not having any injuries. A few days later, Tiana filed a restraining order, and James was banned from talking to Tiana for 2 weeks. Then Tiana began receiving emails from a Jessica Banderas. The woman claimed to be an ex-girlfriend of James, and the emails were nasty and threatening, and she kept receiving them for 2 days. On January 13, 2009, Tiana went back to the police and said she had been receiving emails and thought they were from James. The police told her unless she had proof it was him, they couldn't do anything. James filed another restraining order against Tiana, and she had to appear in court with James to both give their sides to the story. This time Tiana had printed out the mails, and James had no proof that Tiana was harassing him, and they both were given 6-month restraining orders against each other. On January 31st, 2009, James went back to the police station and said Tiana had sent him a flyer with her name, picture, and a phone number on it. The police were suspicious but investigated it anyways. Tiana denied the letter came from her, and by February 2009, the relationship was 100% over. Tiana began talking to her ex-boyfriend Robert again, and they were planning to get back together and get married. According to Tiana's friends and family, she had told James this several weeks before, and that's when James' harassment went up another notch. On February 7th, Tiana's tires were slashed, all 4 of them. At this point, she knew it was James, but had no proof. So she told her dad, Alvin, everything that was going on, and she had him put in a security system. On February 13, 1 day before Tiana's murder, she was at work when she received a number of calls from James, and this time she had a witness, her co-worker. She called the police, but they told her that she had to call the Waterbury, Connecticut police because that's the town she worked in. She went into the station after work, and the police told her they had a hard time believing that her restraining order was real. They told her to have the Plainville police fax over a copy. When she returned home that night at around 7:20 p.m., she found a note from James begging her to take him back. Tiana thought she had all the proof she needed to finally get the police to arrest James. The note said, "Tiana, forgive me. I never cheated on you. If I'm lying, may God take my life. Forgive me for everything else I have done." Now on to the day of murder. On February 14th, 2009, Valentine's Day, Tiana went to the Plainville police to have them fax over a copy of her restraining order and show them the note. The police told Tiana they would arrest James, however they didn't. They called him instead. That's right, they called James to let him know that Tiana had been in there and that if he violated it again, they would arrest him. Tiana went home thinking she'd be safe. She was going to run home to get her laundry and go to her mom's house for the weekend. And then at around 9:41 p.m., Tiana called 911 screaming, "I'm bleeding to death and my ex-boyfriend stabbed me to death." A neighbor had also heard the screams and had also seen James' car leaving. James was on the run, but he did confess to his brother that he had just stabbed Tiana. Tiana was rushed to the hospital and unfortunately died. Her dad said that she had stab wounds everywhere and she had lost too much blood. Less than an hour after Tiana died, James was arrested and charged on suspicion of murder. In the weeks before she was killed, Tiana had filed over 30 complaints to the police and nothing was done. In October 2011, James' trial began and there was a mountain of evidence against him. He was seen on the surveillance camera that Tiana's dad had installed, and on the 911 call, Tiana had identified her killer. And James' brother and his girlfriend also testified that James confessed to it that night. James was found guilty and sentenced to 60 years in prison, which is the maximum sentence allowed in Connecticut. Tiana's family received a settlement of $10 million after the Waterbury and Plainville police departments were found negligent in the case. Tiana's family also started the Tiana Notice Foundation to toughen laws against domestic violence cases and murders. They also are creating a GPS system that shows when an attacker is near a victim. My final thoughts are that this woman was failed by everyone. This could have been prevented if the police took their job seriously and did anything about the 30 complaints that she filed with evidence, but nothing was done. And yeah, how can people not care? It just blows my mind. They obviously cared more about calling an abusive man than they did about Tiana to get away from this monster. It is good that they were found negligent, but what if they do it again to someone else? What if another victim of abuse dies? Every case should be taken seriously. And that's it for this video. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.